So, Lone Rider here, and this is a follow-up on the Hanwei Tinker Norman sword and on my very first homemade buckler, which uh, it's as close to finished as I think it's going to get. So, I went back to the HEMA club for the first time in a while. I had a injury to the right side, so I wasn't actively fencing with and going to lessons. I was doing some solo stuff at home, trying to keep the hang of it, but I was concerned about injuring myself or someone else since I had, the injury to the right side. I didn't have, I thought, control of things, so I didn't want to risk, you know, something going wrong for me or somebody else, which I guess was a wise decision. But so I went back for the first time in some weeks, and I had a grand time, and it was pretty cool. It was obvious, of course, like anything else, archery, cycling, drawing. If you don't do it for a while, you very quickly lose perishable motor skills. So, like the old saying, well, it's like riding a bike. Well, yes, but not really. You know, take somebody who may be an avid cyclist but hasn't ridden in 2 months and put them on a bike against somebody who's been training every day. You'll notice a difference. And even a novice swordsman, you know, uh, you don't do it for a while and then everything just feels weird. So, but even though I didn't really do any full sparring, I did some drills. I learned a lesson, or as much of it as I could, considering. Um, Somebody else tried this out. So one of the guys at the fencing club had a buckler, but the other people didn't. And um, one of them there was a short sword there, or I should say a one-headed sword, as opposed to a long sword, which everybody pretty much has. There was a one-headed sword there, but there was only one. So one-headed sword and one buckler. And actually, I think there were two one-handed swords, but only one buckler between them. So one of the guys decided he was going to try. He was going to try my buckler, and he was going to try my sword, which I was a little concerned because I didn't roll the edge on this because it was too thick, and because I'm a noob at working with metal. I mean, this is around 14 gauge, so fairly sturdy, and it's mild steel. So, but anyway, they tried this out, and they tried this out, and I was pleasantly surprised with what happened. The sword, um, the pommel, it was observed that with thick gloves on, it was harder to get the pommel to slip past the hand. So that was an issue. This has a pommel with corners, so your hand bottoms out on it at a certain point. And the thing that's normally done to avoid that is you let the pommel slip past the hand. You'll see it actually fits nicely in that little crook there, almost as it's designed for it, because it's curved. But the problem is with the thick gloves, it would get stuck. So there was a little bit, you can only cut from certain ways with it. But the sword held up fine. There's no nicks. There's a couple dings, but nothing big. And you could tell that people were holding it mostly with one edge as opposed to the other because all the little nicks are on this side. And let's see if you can see them. There's one there, and yeah, so a little nick there, a slightly bigger one there, and another little nick there. And not really anything on this side, just some scuffs. One nick up there. So, the sword acquitted itself admirably. Nothing is loose, nothing is falling apart. The grip tape that, of course, was split when I got it is still split, but it didn't come off or anything in the hand. And all told, it was pretty cool to see that this thing, could actually do what I got it for. Now the problem is because it is fairly stiff. The whole idea was just not so much don't thrust, but don't complete a thrust. Don't lean into it because this could hurt somebody, obviously. But you know, aside from that, it worked pretty good, and they were wailing on it, and it held up excellent. So very happy with that. Um, Very happy with this, oddly enough. I wish I could have gotten a deeper boss, and I wish I could have gotten the edge rolled. I did sort of slant it this way, um, but again, I didn't really, it was too thick for me to roll the edge. I'm new to metalworking. But it held up. It was getting hit with, this is mild steel, and it's not heat treated or anything. It was getting hit with swords like this, which are made out of, um, carbon steel and heat treated and tempered and all of that. So, normally if you take a piece of mild steel, if I were to just take a piece of mild steel bar stock and I were to hit it with, even a light sword like this rapier, because this has, a harder steel. It's not mild steel. It's harder steel. If I were to hit this against a piece of mild steel bar stock, it would take a notch out. They're both steel, but they're not of equal hardness. So this, I was pleasantly surprised that it held up. My main fear was the edges. If you think about how a sword strike comes in, you're not aiming to chop at the shield or the buckler in this case. You're aiming to hit the person. So most of your strikes are going to be going over the buckler, and if the person does block with the buckler, or it does catch the buckler while it's guarding the sword hand, it could be hitting the middle, but it could just as easily be hitting the edge, and it's liable to. So I was concerned that the edge would get all chewed up because it's not rolled, but it held up pretty good. So just a brief follow up. The sword did its job, the buckler did its job, and I'm very happy with that.